There are some stories Hollywood never wanted us to know. Stories whispered in hushed tones, secrets tucked away behind the dazzling smiles and the magnificent performances. For decades, we've cherished the legends, the larger-than-life figures who graced our screens, believing in their invincibility, their eternal youth, their sheer, unyielding star power. But what if I told you that the very mystique they protected, the image of perfection they projected, came at a profound, often devastating human cost? Today, we're not just reflecting on those we've lost, we're uncovering a truth that connects them all, a quiet suffering that echoes through the decades. And it's a truth that has been brought into sharp, heartbreaking focus, not by a death, but by the extraordinary courage of a living legend. Valerie Perrine. You know, it's a strange thing, the way rumors take hold. For some time now, whispers have circulated about Valerie Perrine, suggesting her final days were upon us. But let me set the record straight right here, right now. Valerie Perrine is very much with us, and her story is not one of an epitaph, but of profound endurance, a living testament to the human spirit's capacity to fight. Her journey, far from being a somber farewell, is an urgent, illuminating narrative that forces us to re-examine the hidden costs borne by an entire generation of Hollywood's elite. Valerie, the captivating star of films like Lenny and Superman, who graced our screens with an undeniable presence and a voice that could melt ice, is indeed facing a battle. But it is a battle she is fighting with grace and an astonishing openness. A public and courageous struggle with Parkinson's disease. This isn't a secret she's taking to the grave, it's a truth she's bravely sharing with the world. And in doing so, she's revealing a deeper, more systemic secret that many of her contemporaries did take with them. Her fame, particularly in the 1970s, was built on a foundation of vibrant physicality. Her distinctive, sultry voice, her captivating movements, her very essence as a bombshell icon. These were the tools of her trade, the assets that Hollywood celebrated and in many ways exploited. The era she defined demanded everything from its stars. Sex appeal, dangerous stunts, relentless public performance. And now, decades later, the delayed invoice for that physical and neurological expenditure has arrived. Parkinson's disease, a neurodegenerative disorder, cruelly targets these exact assets: motor control, balance, and speech. The very essence of what made her electrifying is now what is being systematically challenged by her illness. The devastating irony lies in this direct assault. Valerie Perrine's public battle isn't just her story. It's a living, breathing metaphor for the long-term, degenerative price paid for a system that demanded everything from its icons, then moved on. The secret they took to the grave wasn't a grand conspiracy, but the quiet, personal suffering as their bodies betrayed them, long after the spotlight had faded, leaving them to fight their most intimate battles in silence. Her courage now is forcing us to confront that silence. The quiet courage of Valerie Perrine, battling her illness in the open, makes us look back at the giants of her era, men like Berт Reynolds, and wonder what unseen battles they fought. Bert, you remember him, don't you? That swagger, that iconic mustache, the twinkle in his eye. He was the epitome of the American male, a cultural phenomenon who defined cool for a generation. From Smokey and the Bandit to Deliverance, he was the ultimate tough guy, the charming renegade who could outrun any sheriff and win any heart. He built an empire on that image of invincibility, a seemingly indestructible force of nature both on and off screen. He was a quarterback in college, a natural athlete, and Hollywood embraced that rugged physicality. But beneath that polished exterior, behind the bravado and the easy smile, lay a hidden struggle that would torment him for decades. A secret he tried desperately to keep from the public eye. It began, not with a slow decline, but with a single brutal moment on the set of City Heat in 1984. A botched stunt, a chair to the jaw, and suddenly, the invincible Berт Reynolds was facing a shattered jaw. What followed was a cascade of pain, surgeries, and a debilitating dependency on prescription medications to manage the agony. This wasn't just physical pain. It was a profound blow to the very core of his identity. The man who was paid to be physically dominant, to perform incredible feats, found himself in a constant private war with his own body. He lost weight, his voice changed, and rumors swirled. He tried to explain it away, to maintain the facade, but the truth was, his body was slowly betraying him, piece by agonizing piece. The world saw Berт Reynold's, Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, invincible, swaggering titans of masculinity. But a veil has been lifted not by a deathbed confession, but by the quiet, courageous struggle of another legend from their era, Valerie Perrine. The secret wasn't one of conspiracy, but of a shared, unspoken suffering. For Reynolds, it began with that shattered jaw, a single stunt that spiraled into years of chronic pain, a debilitating battle with personal demons, and a physical decline he desperately tried to hide from the public. He wasn't alone. This was the silent pact of the Hollywood hardman, Project Invulnerability, while privately battling the brutal physical toll of their own myth-making. Valerie Perrine's public battle with Parkinson's, a disease that relentlessly attacks the body's strength and control, serves as a heartbreaking, living testament to the very frailty these men took to their graves. Her struggle doesn't expose a crime, it exposes the hidden human cost of the tough guy persona. The invincible bodies were, in fact, breaking down all along. The ultimate irony is that Berт Reynold's, a man who built an empire on being the indestructible American male, was slowly being destroyed by the very physicality that made him a star. The stunt that was meant to be a moment of on-screen action became the invisible, lifelong trauma that broke the man behind the mustache. The legend of his toughness became his private prison, a testament to the fact that even the strongest among us are ultimately vulnerable to the body's relentless demands. How often do we truly appreciate our heroes while they are still walking among us, before their private battles become public knowledge? From the rugged, undeniable masculinity of Berт Reynold's, we turn our gaze to another icon who captivated the world with her sheer presence, Racquel Welch. She wasn't just a movie star, she was a global phenomenon, a symbol of beauty and strength that transcended the silver screen. Her breakout role in 1,000,000 Years BC in 1966, clad in that iconic fur bikini, catapulted her to instant fame, solidifying her status as a sex symbol for the ages. But Racquel was always more than just a beautiful face and an enviable physique. She was a shrewd businesswoman, a tenacious actress, and a woman fiercely determined to prove her intelligence and talent beyond her physical attributes. She fought tirelessly against being typecast, striving for roles that challenged her, that allowed her to showcase her depth as an artist. She carved out a remarkable career, proving her staying power in an industry that often chewed up and spit out its goddesses. Yet, even as she commanded attention and respect, there was a profound privacy about Racquel, a carefully guarded inner world that she rarely allowed the public to penetrate. For someone whose image was so public, her personal life remained remarkably shielded. When news of her passing came in February of 2023, the official word was brief illness and cardiac arrest. But as Valerie Perrine's public fight has shown us, those clinical terms often mask a deeper, more insidious struggle. The connection wasn't discovered in an old film vault, but in the stark present-day courage of another 70s icon, Valerie Perrine. Her public, unflinching battle with Parkinson's disease serves as a Rosetta Stone for a hidden tragedy. The secret these legends shared wasn't a clandestine affair, but a diagnosis. While Perrine chose to fight her neurological war in the open, we now understand that Racquel Welch and so many others fought a similar battle in private. The secret was the shared vulnerability to the diseases that strip away identity, memory, and control, reducing the most powerful Hollywood titans to a state of terrifying fragility, all while the world remembered them as forever young and invincible. It was her death certificate that finally revealed the brief illness to be Alzheimer's disease. For a global symbol of physical perfection and vitality, it was an invisible internal decay of the mind. The cruelest irony is that Racquel Welch spent her entire career fighting to be recognized for her intelligence and business savvy, desperate to prove she was more than the world-famous body the studios sold. In the end, she was overcome by a disease that left the iconic body relatively intact, but relentlessly erased the brilliant, sharp, and commanding mind she had fought so hard for the world to finally see. Her legacy remains vibrant, but her final battle was a silent internal devastation that few could ever have imagined. From the carefully curated image of Racquel Welch we turn to a man who epitomized raw, unfiltered energy, a force of nature who lived life on his own terms, James Caan. Caan was a cornerstone of the new Hollywood, a charismatic actor whose performances crackled with an intensity that few could match. From his unforgettable role as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather to his powerful turn in Misery, Caan built a career playing tough, complex characters, often with a vulnerability simmering just beneath the surface. He was the kind of actor who commanded the screen, an electrifying presence whether he was a gangster, a football player, or a gentle father figure in Elf. His golden years were marked by a string of iconic roles that cemented his place in cinematic history, showcasing a range that belied his tough guy image. But the 1970s, the era that forged Caan and so many of his peers, was also a time of excess, a wild landscape where talent and hedonism often went hand in hand. This was a generation that pushed boundaries, that lived hard and played harder, and Caan was no exception. The hidden pressures weren't just the demands of fame, but the allure of a lifestyle that promised endless exhilaration but often delivered a heavy toll. The secret isn't that they partied. We knew that. The secret is the invoice, the one being paid in full by the last survivors. In the 1970s, a generation of stars like Caan, Robert Downey Sr., and Richard Pryor forged a new Hollywood in a blaze of talent and cocaine. It was a grand, destructive performance, and they were all in on it. The unspoken pact was to live the legend and never admit the cost. Now the veil is lifted not by a confession, but by biology. Valerie Perrine, the era's radiant muse, didn't get a quick exit like Caan. Her public battle with a neurodegenerative disease reveals the agonizing postscript to the party. Her body is the living evidence of the toll that era took, a slow, cruel decay that strips away the glamour and leaves only the damage. Caan and the others took the secret to the grave, but Perrine's final days are the tragic, living testimony they can no longer deny. The real cost of their legend was a debt charged to their own bodies, a physiological time bomb set decades ago. When James Caan passed away in July of 2022, the official cause was acute myocardial infarction, a heart attack. The document is clinical, cold, but for James Caan, the cause was always going to be his heart in a way. It's how he lived, with an open, passionate, sometimes reckless intensity. The bill for a life lived at maximum volume always comes due. The ultimate irony is that James Caan built a career playing indestructible men, brawlers, gangsters, cowboys, who could absorb any punishment and get back up. He cultivated an off-screen persona to match. The very lifestyle that fueled this myth of invincibility was systematically dismantling him, and his entire generation from the inside out. The tough guy image was a shield for a profound vulnerability, and the body, which never lies, kept the final score. His passing reminds us that even the most formidable spirits are bound by the frailties of the human form. From the raw, untamed energy of James Caan, we pivot to a different kind of star, one who brought sunshine and song into our lives, Oливия Nьютон-Джон. To a generation, she was Sandy, the innocent girl who transformed into a leather-clad siren in Grease, forever etching her into our collective memory. But long before Grease, Oливia was already a beloved singer, her angelic voice and wholesome image captivating audiences around the world. Her career was a tapestry of hit songs, iconic film roles, and an enduring sweetness that made her utterly unique. She became a symbol of positivity, even releasing the incredibly popular Physical in 1981, a song that ironically celebrated the very body that would become the site of her decades-long private war. Olivia's golden years weren't just about fame, they were about resilience. For 30 years, she wasn't just sick, she was a warrior in a public battle against metastatic breast cancer. Her body became a canvas for a generation's anxieties about health, wellness, and mortality. The final cause of death was the end of a chapter, not the whole story. The narrative we were sold was a lie of omission. We saw Oливия Nьютон-Джон as the angelic beacon of hope and Valerie Perrine as the worldly, sultry survivor. Two opposite ends of the 1970s Hollywood spectrum. But Valerie's current, harrowing fight with Parkinson's reveals the secret they and so many of their peers carried. The secret wasn't a hidden vice or a clandestine pact. It was the quiet, insidious toll of the life itself. The relentless pressure, the physical demands, the emotional labor of being an icon. For this generation of legends, the glamour of their prime was a down payment on a future of profound physical struggle. Newton-John's decades-long cancer battle and Perrin's debilitating neurological disease aren't separate tragedies. They are two devastating outcomes of the same unspoken truth. The invincible image they projected was an illusion, and their bodies were keeping the score all along. She faced her health challenges with a grace and determination that inspired millions, becoming an advocate for cancer research and a beacon of hope for those fighting their own battles. Yet even in her public fight, there was a profound personal toll, a quiet suffering that only she and her closest loved ones truly understood. Her passing in August of 2022, at the age of 73, marked the end of a remarkable life, but also the culmination of a decades-long struggle. The ultimate tragic irony is that Oливia Nьютон-Джон, a woman who sang "Let's Get Physical" and became a global symbol for wellness and mind-over-matter healing, belonged to a generation of stars whose final acts are defined by the body's absolute, inescapable betrayal. They were sold to us as gods, an escape from the harsh realities of life. Yet in death, or in their final days, they have become the most brutal and public reminder of the one reality no amount of fame, positivity, or Hollywood magic can conquer: our own frail biology. Please share in the comments which of her roles touched your heart the most, because as long as we remember them, they are never truly gone. From the enduring positivity of Oливia Nьютон-Джон, we move to a star whose public persona was often defined by her outspokenness and a very different kind of fight: Kirsti Elli. Kirsti burst onto our screens as Rebecca Howe in the beloved sitcom Cheers in 1987, capturing hearts with her sharp wit and undeniable charm. She quickly became a household name, starring in hit films like Look Who's Talking and its sequels, showcasing a comedic timing and dramatic depth that made her a versatile and sought-after actress. Her golden years were marked by a career that spanned decades, filled with memorable performances and a vibrant, often controversial public presence. Kirsti was known for her candor, her willingness to speak her mind, and her very public journey with her weight. This became a significant part of her narrative as she openly discussed her struggles and triumphs, becoming a spokesperson for various weight loss programs. Her career, in many ways, was a public referendum on the female form, from the breakout star of Cheers to the relentless scrutiny over her appearance. But behind the very public battles and the outspoken personality, Kirsti harbored a profound, intensely private struggle, a secret that she kept hidden until her final moments. When she passed away in December of 2022, the news came as a shock to many. The official cause was colon cancer. What's unsettling is how few knew. The diagnosis was recent, the battle was short and intensely private, a stark contrast to a life lived so publicly. The connection isn't a document or a photograph, it's an unspoken, brutal truth of their industry, revealed in the twilight of their lives. Valerie Perrine, the 70s bombshell from Superman, is now courageously public about her body's long, slow betrayal by Parkinson's disease. Kirsti Elli's career was a public referendum on the female form, the very asset that made her famous. The secret these legends shared wasn't with each other, but with Hollywood itself. Their physical body, the very asset that made them famous, would become the ultimate source of their private suffering and vulnerability. It's the silent contract of stardom. Your body is your brand until it becomes your cage. The most profound irony is that Kirsti Elli, a woman whose entire public narrative was a battle for control over her external image, her weight, her appearance, her outspoken persona, was ultimately consumed by an internal silent disease she kept completely hidden. For a life lived under the microscope, her final and most significant fight was one the world never got to see. Her quiet passing underscores the profound vulnerability that even the most public figures can experience, reminding us that behind every larger-than-life persona, there is a human being facing their own unseen battles. As we reflect on these incredible lives, from Valerie Perrine's ongoing courage to the quiet departures of Berт Reynoldс, Rакель Уэлч, James Каан, Oливия Ньютон-Джон, and Kirsti Elli, a pattern emerges. It's a pattern of relentless pressure, of bodies pushed to their limits, and of private suffering hidden behind public smiles. These weren't just actors, they were titans who protected their mystique, often at immense personal cost. Their recent struggles and departures, one after another, feel like the final curtain call on the Hollywood we grew up with, an era before everything was laid bare for the world to see. The secret they carried wasn't a grand conspiracy, but the simple, brutal truth of human fragility, the body's ultimate betrayal, and the profound, often lonely battles fought far from the camera's gaze. It's a somber reminder that even our heroes are mortal, and that the price of immortality on screen can be a heavy one in life. Take care of yourselves and hold your loved ones close. Memory is the only thing that truly lasts forever.